I'd rather find out now than find out years down the road that something was wrong and never was able to fix it, right?
Love
So
it.
this is like this isn't saying, we're shutting down C3D or anything, right? This is like, hey, can you fix this? And
The WCAT WeCat podcast.
This is Tanner Gears, and welcome to a special episode of the WCAT podcast, Spilling the Tea on Digital Accessibility. I'm your special host for today, and we're going to be covering a special event that we did at the NFB National Convention for the Testathon, an accessibility testathon for a valuable, incredible nonprofit that's doing great work. And we wanted to help them to make sure that they were reaching their community the best that they could. And a lot of times nonprofits don't have a lot of money to be throwing stuff at digital accessibility or doing accessibility audits. We're professionals, we're trained, we're certified. And we provide a lot of value in this service, and there's software components and all kinds of crazy things. So what we've got today for you on the WCAT is Caroline Karbowski and Liam Colburn, who is our testing manager, Liam, and then Caroline, who is the founder and CEO of C3 .org, C3D.org. That's SEE3D.org. And let me tell you something. We've got Caroline is a unicorn, y'all. This is someone who taught themselves Braille in sixth grade just so she could read and not get car sick. She learned American Sign Language. Yes, she teaches American Sign Language and has done that. She's a caddis. She's going to getting her brand new caddis certification. She's a certified Braille transcriber. She's a certified orientation and mobility specialist. And again, founder and CEO of C3.org. On the side, she also happens to do stuff in like biology. She's got her degree in biology. And what was really, really cool was how she's actually scaling systems thinking and workflows with regards to 3D modeling and printing and what that can do for people who are blind or visually impaired in the education setting, and then of course into the workplace. Caroline, thank you so much for joining us today on the WCAT podcast.
thank you so much, Tanner, for having me on the podcast. I appreciate it.
This was something that was so meant to be. We got introduced by Todd Elzey. Todd, if as you guys know on a previous episode, he is a tester here at Accessibility Officer, also doing some project management work for us. And he introduced me to Caroline when I found out about what she's doing and how she's helping people who are blind or visually impaired literally feel and see the world around them. I knew that this was the right nonprofit for the accessibility testathon that we hosted at the NFB National Convention. And then, of course, we've got Liam, one of the greats out of Oregon State University, represent Beavers. But now down in Austin, Texas, Liam, one of a true inspiration, a test manager here at Accessibility Officer. He was incredible with his stoicism and resolve, and just he's a wizard running the testathon. I was a nervous wreck, and Liam's calm demeanor just really helped get a winning event. Liam, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, and thank you for the kind words, Tanner.
Oh, my pleasure. Caroline, you are an incredibly ambitious entrepreneurial person. You've got a business that you're starting up, that you're running and you've got this nonprofit that you're running and building. But you started, like, where does the urge to be a biologist come into all of this? Is that a family influence? Where did that come from?
Oh, I think I've always been into asking questions and figuring things out and understanding how the world works. And I really liked my high school biology teacher and had so many opportunities to really have creative thinking in that class. And I really like within science the ability to gain new information, right? We're doing groundbreaking things. You go beyond what the textbook says to figure out new problems. And I think that's how I got started. And I did a lot of research in proteins that fix DNA. And I really like making science accessible for blind people as well.
Stop flirting with me, talking about proteins, DNA, RNA, and epigenetics. Goodness gracious, let's get some protein signaling going. Oh man. All right.
Oh, wow.
topic for another day, young lady. But you're doing O&M now as a certified O&M instructor at Perkins, and I'm just like, you're talking about changing things and new ways of thinking. Like, how does working with people in this physical environment every day kind of maybe change your perspective or thinking about 3D models and how they might be providing value to people within the space that you're watching them navigate every day?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll say first on O&M, like I really like the problem solving in that, especially with my students, with them being so unique. I might try something and it doesn't work, and so I have to try some whole other new idea and incorporate a bunch of different tools. And I have used some 3D printed models with my students too. One was a model of a curb cut with truncated domes, like and showing how there was domes on one side and you cross the street and now there's domes on the other side. Um, I've had models of the buildings at school, and that was really great to convey like how the roofs are either flat or they're pointed, and
Yes.
maps of school as well. And I do like the fact if you can have many models of the same thing. And when you're making a model, you have to decide what you want to emphasize. What's the story you're trying to tell? And that's the same thing with science models too. Like when we have protein models, we're like, well, what, amino acids do you want to highlight? Because if you try to emphasize everything, you lose things. So with the
Mm,
tactile maps, sometimes it's the sidewalks, sometimes
mm,
it is the water features, maybe something that made sound, or it's the buildings. And it could depend on the person you're working with, depend on their tactile skills. It could depend on their concepts of the environment. And if you had a map of the entire campus, that might get too overwhelming. If you just have a
mm.
map of a few buildings and you're just working on conveying one concept, maybe that's a better thing. Because if you try to do everything at once, you may not learn anything at all. So I do like the iterative opportunities that we have with 3D printing.
You are iterating. I couldn't have planned a better segue for that. And you're now talking about workflows, processes, integrating 3D printing into the education field, in higher education, and trying to work with employers too to help them open their minds about how this can really unlock value and actually harness the potential that is really kind of oppressed or suppressed. That becomes unlocked with your 3D model. Tell us a little bit about the workflows and the passion driving that.
Yes. So C3D, mainly is a community of volunteers around the world designing and printing models for requests that we get. And when it started out, it was just me printing models, then some of my friends printing models. And we've had more and more people that want to help out, including a lot of blind model recipients. And at first, the only people who could really contribute were people that had some vision because a lot of the
Mm,
printers weren't accessible. And there were ways that, you could do things, but it wasn't at the same level as what sighted people can do. And so from the very start, when we did the 3D printing club at Ohio State School for the Blind, we were advocating with the 3D printing companies that we were using on labeling their buttons for the slicers, for changing things on the menus. We were using Ira with the kids, using Be My Eyes,
yes.
things like that from the start. So that was exciting. And, we were able to get, you know, some of the companies like started to make changes, right, in the initial phases. And we're also trying new strategies. And then we talked with other schools for the blind that were doing the same thing to get ideas. And it's all about how can we have more people help 3D print? And for that's sort of my first thought, more people help see 3D. But lately, I've even been thinking bigger and thinking, well, if 3D printing is accessible, that's a whole bunch of job opportunities, right? 3D printing is used more than just making a model in an education setting. It's used in manufacturing, it's used in digital design or things like animation. And all of these careers are really growing, and so much, especially in the manufacturing space, is growing with 3D printing. Like now is the time to get the word out that the hardware and software needs to be accessible so that way blind low vision people can do these careers. That's just going to, make it better for everyone here. And I was really excited this April we were able to go to the Rapid TCT conference in Boston, This is the North America's largest additive manufacturing and industrial 3D printing conference. And
Yeah.
there we could talk directly with the industry companies about this need. And I don't think, they were maybe expecting us to be there, right? Most of this was industry. They weren't maybe expecting 3D printing nonprofits to be there. But it felt really cool to be advocating and talking with leaders from these companies. And we had some really great conversations with Prusa, which is a 3D printer company, and plan on working with them more to improve their slicer and hardware, showing them how, blind people are using their products. And they're really excited to see that and collaborate with us and the blind people in our network to make improvements.
Absolutely love it on so many levels. And I can't help but think about your, biology background and me being such a sighted person, losing my sight as a young adult, and like how just 3D modeling can unlock so much like awareness and understanding just with such immediacy. Like as a sighted person,
Mm-hmm.
like I've seen a bat, like I know what a bat is. It's been a long time since I've seen one, but you handing me like a life-size bat was incredible, right? And then thinking about, oh, okay, like what the chemical structures are, and like how the periodic table is laid out. Just there was so many things where I started to like, oh my gosh, the buttons, everything started to fire, and I was like, oh my gosh. I'm so grateful for everything that you're doing, and that you would allow us to work together with you on the accessibility testathon, because it's something that no one likes to say that their baby's ugly, right? And you've got organizations and websites, right, designed to help people who are blind or visually impaired, right? So I can imagine a little bit of nervousness, right? Like you try really hard, it's super authentic. You probably had some blind people like review the website just to make sure that we can actually use it. And so super grateful for your participation. And Liam, test manager, he was live with us in Austin at the NFB National Convention, and I'm losing my mind. I'm going bananas. Uh and and Liam was right there to bring it home. I think what would be special is if in a minute, if it's okay, we can kind of walk through some of the technical things we found, maybe show what that looks like as we talk through them, maybe talk about how we can fix them. But before we get there, Liam, I would love it if you would tell us a little bit about some of the work that you do as a testing manager, and why you were so excited to raise your hand to volunteer for this opportunity.
Sure. So as a test manager at Accessibility Officer, it's my job to do mostly the quality assurance. So we have our testers go in and they find all the issues they can and write it up. And I'm the person who goes through, uh, double checks everything to make sure that it's the best quality it can be when we hand it off to our clients. And I also help write the reviews, or sorry, the recommendations for the issues on specific actionable code fixes that the developers for that client can implement.
You're so
And
modest. You do way more than that, but yeah, please continue.
yeah, and I was really excited to make it to NFP convention because I just recently moved to the Austin area. So it was a great opportunity to meet the team there and then help coordinate in person and help get the testathon going so that we can have an audit done and hand it off to the C3D team. So it was a ton of fun. I really
It
enjoyed it. And
was
yeah,
no, no, go.
sorry, good. Well, it went off really well, I thought. I was surprised at how well the different testers did because we didn't have any recommendation for coming in except just you need to have a laptop and then you can participate in the testathon. And it turned out really well, I thought. Like they caught pretty much all the violations in there. So I think it went off really well.
So, it was super ambitious to kind of not willy-nilly, but like with what Liam's talking about, not having a lot of prep, not, basically, live in the, like on the fly, people were downloading DARTAudit, formerly known as Dart Suite. DARTAudit, our digital accessibility manual and automated testing and reporting tool. Um, And so they basically like, hey, download it. All right, here's how you use it. Go. And they tested for about 75 minutes. It was a group. Liam, how many people in total did we have?
Probably about a dozen.
And then how did you break up the effort? So you're like, getting back to you being so modest, like you actually took a look at the website, you identified, hey, these are probably the most important scenarios that people would be going through. You pre-divided up that work, and then we're going to on the fly, divvy out these URLs and test scopes to the different testers. Talk about a little bit of the overview. How did you break this down? What was the approach? What that looked like?
Yeah, so our testing method is that we try to pair one URL to each tester, um, so that you have a very specific scope to go through. You know exactly what areas to look at, and it helps reduce duplicates, so it makes it a lot easier to tidy it up when we hand off the final product. So in order to scope it out, the main thing I did is I went to the How to Request a Model page on c3d.org, and I just looked at the three different like paths from there, just because I was thinking that's what is the most important part of the site, really, is helping people get to these actionable things. Um, so I broke it down that way. And then when our participants at the testathon came in, I handed them the URL and basically we said go and do your best.
That's right. And we did get some, there was definitely different levels of, knowledge, skill and ability, experience, training, etc. In the group. Do you happen to have a little bit of a breakdown of how many issues were found overall, how many unique issues, etc.? Give us a little bit of some stats on what we got.
Yeah, so we ended up with a little bit over 60 issues logged. And out of that list, we ended up with 31 actual actionable uh, issues that we can hand off to the development team.
Awesome. So
And
some
yes.
does that mean like sometimes like an issue is just like not a compliance violation, or maybe it's like a usability issue? Is that those are some of the reasons why we went from 60 down to 31?
Yeah, and a lot of it is most of it was cleaning up the issues, just
Mhm.
because there might be a specific pattern that is a violation and it's repeated multiple times and we get it logged multiple times. So it's about tidying it up. But overall, what basically, the stuff that we removed from the total list that we weren't going to share, it wasn't because the issues were bad at all. It was almost entirely accurate findings, which really, really impressed me that these people who didn't have a ton of experience were able to do that.
Yeah. And there was definitely at least, I thought, a few people who were blind or visually impaired that seemed like they were like actually in the field working. And then, of course, we had someone from ServiceNow in the digital accessibility field. I think that they were up at the top of the list there in terms of performance. And I want to hear what Caroline, what I can imagine, you were like nervous to get the report, like open it up and click it. What were you thinking as you were kind of reviewing the issues and what you had in front of you?
So I was, really excited to see this because, and you know how you're saying earlier, how, sometimes people maybe don't want to do it because they're afraid of knowing, the problems. And I may be used to kind of be a little bit like that, but lately I've been a lot more receptive to feedback because I feel like that's a sign that someone actually cares about you or actually cares about like the work you're doing, right? I'd rather find out now than find out years down the road that something was wrong and never was able to fix it, right?
Love
So
it.
this is like this isn't saying, we're shutting down C3D or anything, right? This is like, hey, can you fix this? And so I really appreciate all the work that everyone put into this because it shows, especially all of the testers that, volunteered their time here because that just helps us out, right? It allows us to be able to make, the problem better. We didn't know a lot of these problems existed. Like a lot of the things in the report I feel were like some really like things I never even heard about, right? It wasn't some like, oh, you don't have a heading or something. I mean, we had some things kind of like that, but these were deeper issues. These weren't like accessibility 101 things. So one of them, I like particularly the one about title attributes with the images. Like I like never heard of that. I was honestly surprised about that because we put alt text in a lot of the photos. Now, some alt text I think could be more descriptive and things in which the report found. But I was surprised that we had the problem with the title attribute. We didn't even know that was a thing because like within the website builder, we thought we were like doing it enough. We put the alt text in, but I guess there's more things to do within that. So I think that's one, it's just raising awareness for people as well that when you're making websites, there's a lot you need to do with making it accessible. And there's also more, I think, that the website, whole community things could be doing to make this easier for the average person to make this website. So it's not so complicated, right? It's like if we had more tools that made this easier, if we made, people who are learning about website building, if they learned about like making accessible websites from day one in high school and college, like that would probably like make it a lot easier as well. So there's a lot that people can all do, and now that we're aware of this, we can actually address it.
Now, you are going to be working with your technical team, your developers, to start to work through some of these issues and start to make these advancements. Were there any ones that you were, that I thought the title attributes is a great call out. Appreciate the kudos on the level of excellence. But was there any other issues that were like, whoa, that jumped out as alarming?
So I think one here, it says this is number 28 on the list. If you're looking at two, it's saying the lists are not coded as lists, and so like we can just put that in front, even though like visually it might look at a list, or we thought, oh, we put it as the bulleted list in the website builder. We thought that made it a list by using their bulleted list tool. And so I was just surprised like that didn't do it, right? Um, Another one is deciding about like alt text for some of the images. It's like, like how descriptive to be in the alt text versus, like kind of like an image description versus maybe a short alt text. And making sure everything is like we've dotted all our I's, crossed all our T's on that. Cause like you caught some things where it was just reading the file name or so versus the alt
Right.
text. That wasn't maybe as surprising. Some of the I'm looking at here, like just some of the heading stuff and making sure that clickable images were good, like things that have visual headings, like
Yeah, there's
card headings.
some headings that
Interesting.
got split up accidentally, and you so it would say
Mm-hmm.
like heading level one is, this one part of the phrase, and heading, the next heading is the second part of that heading. And it's like little
Okay.
things that you don't even notice.
Yeah.
Right.
So for those who are listening only, we've got Liam is sharing the screen. He's got our report up here in Dart Suite or DARTAudit, and we're going through the issues. Whenever we do testing, auditing, remediation guidance like this, we'll typically similar to this, we'll walk through the issue, we'll deliver the report to the customer, we'll walk through some of the more technical issues, help prioritize the effort, and help them just expedite the implementation of these remediation changes. So yeah, I just wanted to share what was going on. So take it back over, Liam.
Oh, I
Yeah,
also really did appreciate
good.
how you sorry, did his high, medium, and low priorities as well.
Yes, we try to do that so that when you're going through and fixing everything, you know what is the highest priority things. Like this is really blockers that you can't get around. Medium or high is sort of like this is a blocker that you can technically get around, but it's a ton of work, really inconvenient. Some people might upon it find it, and then going down from that. So try to keep it actionable and easy to break down.
What is Liam, curious. So for the title attribute thing with the image, how would
Mhm.
one go about fixing that or preventing that error from popping up?
So this was an interesting one. I believe this is the one you're talking about, Caroline, which was causing images that were marked as decorative. So trying to keep the images from being announced by screen readers. It was the tile attributes were still being announced. Is that what
Mm-hmm.
you were?
I
Yeah.
believe so. I
So
just
that one,
like yes.
yeah, it's a very interesting one because it just has to do with nuance. And it's something that you don't think about. Like if you mark an image as decorative, you would assume that it is silent now. And
Mm-hmm.
it's in this case, it's just a matter of removing that title attribute because it doesn't really add any benefit. It's just left over from code. Like it just has the file name. So it's things that you only really find when you're going through it, like with a screen reader. But otherwise, like you wouldn't even think of it.
Were there any issues that you saw, Liam, as you were going through the report and cleaning things up? Were there any issues that stood out to you? Like, oh wow, this is interesting. Wow, I'm so impressed that they caught this issue.
Despite what Caroline was saying earlier about a lot of the issues going deeper, from my perspective, I was really impressed by how few violations there were on the C3D site. Like there weren't anything that was blocking people from doing things. It was mostly just tidying things up. And that was the main thing that stuck out to me is we're mostly helping with like alt text and things like that um, that aren't really, catastrophic or anything like that. But yeah, I was really impressed that people were, if you don't have the background and you don't know what the like WCAG guidelines are exactly, that those participants were still able to just go through it and find issues that absolutely match up to the WCAG violations. But they're mostly things like alt text and there's some interesting ones like we talked about with the disjointed headings and the title
Mm-hmm.
attribute, which is causing unexpected behavior. And those were the most interesting to like a nerdy person like me.
I also like the
Awesome.
contrast tone as well with we have some dark blue on the site with white backgrounds and overall like I'm always very curious about like the low vision perspective with their website or to things using magnifiers and how that works well or invert colors or other color changes. And so I appreciated that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, a lot of that is just the like minimum guidelines that WCAG has to
Hmm.
just ensure everything's accessible. And yeah, it's great when it works out like that.
I also saw a lot recommending that the alt text really represents whatever the visible text in the image is, even if the alt text maybe overall is the same message. Like for example, one of
Right.
them says, say the platinum transparency 2026 Candide symbol, just saying Candide 2026 seal of transparency instead of like more of a shortened version of that
Right.
phrase.
It's yeah, the question is always, does this give like equivalent information? Is there equivalency
Hmm.
with this? And like the alt text I'm looking at it right now, it says candid slash guide star transparency seal, which is definitely accurate. Like that is conveying um, the overall meaning of it, but there's some of that extra information that is lost in
Right.
there that does make it worth to mention, like the 2026 part,
Hmm.
and being
Hmm.
like specific about, what exactly is the message and stuff like that. So yeah.
I guess I was expecting this to be an error, and I want to talk about it because I'm excited about some aspects. So one is our live dashboard of the world and United States, where the states or countries get a darker shade of blue if more models are sent there, and it will auto-populate visually because it's coming from our Google Sheet data from our model requests. And I've been trying to find really a way to make this accessible, especially with being a live feed. Like maybe it could be a table that is also auto-populated with information, and the first item in the table is the biggest one, and that would be darker blue, so that would change. Or we're also talking with the team at Audium to see if we can sonify this information. But overall, like because right now like we know it doesn't work because we're kind of unsure how to get it to work and really populate. And I didn't know if you had any other suggestions for making data that's constantly changing, like with charts like accessible.
What you said about having a table is absolutely always like our go-to with charts and maps, just because it's so complicated to get all that information accessible. Um, Even for people who are sighted, sometimes it's great to have a table. So that's
Hmm.
like always the great part of it. And Audium is really, really cool. Like we uh we had the privilege to have the CEO as like a guest speaker. And I think everyone on the accessibility officer team was like blown away with how cool it is.
I'm excited too, and I think it'll be cool if we have that to then be able to show like once we kind of figure out this whole solution to get to work, other people will be able to maybe use that idea and won't have to start from scratch, kind of like how we are.
Mhm.
I'm curious, are there like obviously for people who are blind or visually impaired, tactile 3D models make a lot of sense. I was curious, like, is there, other people or other types of impairments that you guys are seeing demand from with regards to the 3D models?
So we think we have like it's all requests that we get. We only can fulfill it if someone's blind or low vision.
Oh, okay,
However,
got it.
we so like we however we had people like there's a classroom with one blind student and then the other students in the classroom are benefiting from that model, or the sibling or parent is benefiting. Another group has been blind parents requesting models to use with their sighted kids to explain things. I thought that was cool. Like
Hmm.
someone got a globe, right? Any of these maps, like things with the news, things like famous landmarks, family photos, all, maybe there's movie characters. Maybe the person who's really, getting that content of the movie character is the kid, but the parent wants to be able to enjoy the movie with their kid or have that experience with them. And I hadn't really thought of that as being a tool. Like, oh, that was kind of cool. Another one, I've heard people that, blind people that have other disabilities, like such as people that have like dementia or because like that has been helpful, like remembering things that were meaningful to them and
Mm.
being able to touch that again, especially things like someone's house. It was kind of cool. We've had people do ones of their pets who are no longer living, and so I think that's been meaningful as well as the ability for the models to sort of spark conversation and community. So one person was a blind landowner, lots of acres with trees, rivers, and he has to make decisions about what land he's going to sell, what land maybe he would log, other people that might want to use the land, and this huge model. This was 3 feet by 3 feet of a model, and it showed the topography. And the people who were doing some drone footage of his land used the model to help plan their drone flyover and
Hmm.
his other landowner friends really liked the model. And other people were using it besides just the model recipient. And I was really excited that now that he has this model, he can make more educated decisions about his land. He doesn't have to rely on people telling him, yeah, like that tree looks, is on a hill, or, this is a very steep hill, or this land, like he can make those decisions himself that are financially important to him. And I find that really empowering for him.
That is incredible. I find it fascinating. I love that more people with different backgrounds and experiences are getting into digital accessibility. We happen to have a vocational rehabilitation job training program that helps people with severe disabilities enter the field. Our philosophy is if you get trained and you get certified, we're going to give you a job. And Liam, what does it take? Like, as you see people coming through the CAT program, they're becoming apprentices, they start working at Accessibility Officer and they're making your job easier. What what are the, what do you like to see in a digital accessibility tester? What makes a good tester?
Yeah, I would say the number one thing is having just a really solid understanding of the WCAG success criterias and what is a violation and what's not. Um, just to speed up their own testing and also so that we can help the people that the testing is for know exactly this is a violation, if we're legally accountable by it, and having the ability to back it up. So if a tester knows that, it just helps what they can spot. It can help with their write-ups, being able to identify it and communicate it. So that's the main thing, and something that I've really had an appreciation for recently is having like a method for how to go through the site. So instead of doing maybe like, taking a holistic look at the site, but having a process of here's what I'm going to look for this time. I'm going to do another pass. I'm going to look for this. So having a really like button down, nothing's going to escape, knowing exactly what you're doing, like having a step-by-step thing.
Yep.
So that kind
Def
of thinking.
that definitely separates the goods from the greats, right? Or the averages from the ones, from the haves and the have-nots. I couldn't agree with you more. It's developing those methods, developing those practices, how do you get better every single day? And, like developing a method probably comes from, hey, intentionally focusing on how can I do this better, suggesting a hypothesis and then executing on that thing. So that being said, I want to get into this week's weekly WCAG watch by Matthew Dyer.
When an image is the only content of a link, the alt text must describe the link's purpose and not its appearance. Describing its appearance would make it a 2.4.4 link purpose violation. I see this most commonly with site logos that also serve as a link to the homepage.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dyer, for that. And before we wrap things up, again, Liam, I couldn't imagine pulling this off without you. The Accessibility Testathon at NFB National Convention. Are you down to do it again in 2027?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And Caroline, I mean, you are truly having a scalable impact on the blind and visually impaired community all across the world. You're in so many different countries. You've shipped to every single state across the United States. Now you've got your new business. Do you want to close it out with perhaps like letting people know where they can find you, and if they want to get involved in your new startup, how they can do that?
Sure. So if for C3D, if you want to request a model or be a volunteer, design and print models, as well as get involved with advocacy on accessible 3D printing. We also offer 3D printing consulting with people in our team who have developed accessible workflows. And so if you want to start a program in your area, we offer that as well. And so the easiest way is to go to our website, c3d.org, and that's SEE, the number 3D.org. And our email is info@c3d.org. And again, we ship models free matter all over the world. We also, if you have your own printer, we can even do just design work for you too as well. And so yes, we'd love to have you come join our Slack workspace and get talking about how we can make things more accessible for you.
Love it. Caroline, thank you again so much. Liam, appreciate you, brother. This has been another episode of the WCAT podcast, Spilling the Tea on Digital Accessibility. I am your special guest host for today, Tanner Gears, and you can get more at AccessAbilityOfficer.com. Ability is our middle name.
WCAT podcast, Spilling the Tea on Digital Accessibility.
Subscribe to the WCAT WeCat podcast on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Links below.
The importance of you doing the test is, we have blind people who gave us feedback on our website. We have blind developers working with our team. But, it's not really the responsibility of just like average, people to fix all of our problems, right? Like this is like a paid job, right? Like they did like the easy lifts and letting us know like major problems. But really like this work is like a paid thing. Like this is something that really should be done like by companies such as yours, right? Like I shouldn't expect just like some of my blind friends to do this work, right? Or maybe people had been experiencing these problems on the site and could have emailed us. But they didn't email us. It's really niche problems, nor is it really like their responsibility, right?
Or if
To
it's like
do that
minor
for us.
inconveniences, it's like, is it
Right.
worth reaching out?
Right. And maybe
Well-
they would have, like, I mean, so now that you've done this, like that saves like all the thousands of people who are going to our site that don't have to deal with the minor inconveniences anymore, right? That just makes it us more, an easier product to have. And that helps build our relationship with the community. And so I think I try to emphasize that because it's not really the responsibility of like my friends to do work like this access work. It really is a paid job, and it helps that people are able to do some of the small lifts, but the big lifts you were able to do for us. And so that's really great.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, and it's I appreciate you saying that. It's like tough to educate, and so many companies do that, right? They, use user testing or just, people. And it's like, hey, if I'm in a race, like I'm not just going to pick some person off the street to drive the car, right? Like I'm probably going to need like an actual race car driver. So yeah, appreciate you saying that. What else
Yeah,
can we
love it.
do for you, Caroline? Like I want to support you guys so much. What can we do to help you and your organization and what's hot for you right now?
For like other like C3D like in other like referrals, like the other companies that you work with, if they need 3D models, right? That could be great, especially if they want their logo done. We can do multicolor logos. We
Mm.
can do tactile maps, looking at fire escape maps, or if they have their building, from the outside. If they send us a lot of photos, maybe even have like drone footage, we can do models of buildings,
Hmm.
especially for like places that could do paid work for maybe it's like a larger organization. That would be really helpful to us if maybe these
Why does
companies.
Disney not have this on every theme park?
Right, right. That would be good. We've done actually the first model we did was a Cinderella castle. And that was from
Cool.
a model that already existed on the internet. That was from a blind person who said she's like, I've been to Disney World, I've walked through the castle, but I've never actually like touched
I
the
think
a
the
castle or
play they're never going to
uh-huh.
let you like fly over there, right? There's just not, there's like the proof of concept is going to be impossible. And so I think the play for that is you get a way smaller theme park, like a local theme park. Maybe it's like only known in Texas or something.
Mm-hmm.
And you get them to let you do it. And then you show that to Disney. Like, this is what
Oh,
you need at
okay.
your park.
Right. Like, do they have tactile maps? Right, but like
Oh, they do?
things that have.
Oh, okay.
Well, I've seen when I say tactile maps, it's more just like maybe like outlines of things or symbols, right? It's not like the building or it's not. It's more just like the regions of the park
You
or like a
should sell
braille
them
map.
you just like they have hey, you're here, those like you're here directories. You should be having a 3D directory. You're here.
Right. Right. Like and they could have like with the like in front of the castle, they should have the like a little miniature castle model there with the you are here marker.
Yes.
You're right,
Yeah.
Yes.
right. Like and like or some of the rides or the characters in the rides, those could be outside. Like because there are some like famous buildings or I was actually at Yosemite and they had like a waterfall model, like a stone waterfall there. That was so cool,
Cool.
right? Like things that you could like at some of these famous like that's true because people are like, I went to the Grand Canyon, I went to this famous mountain, and like they weren't able to experience it as much tactily to really understand the shape, but they could have a little model there. And for you could 3D perhaps like I don't know if always a plastic 3D model can handle the weather, but the plastic 3D model things can be used within casts and like in metal to do that, and you can 3D print in metal now too, so you still need someone
So
to design that.
we've been doing like much shorter episodes, and I've been like pushing for more long form content. And that's why I was like, oh,
Hmm.
can't go down the like the protein signaling and epigenetic friggin' rabbit hole. And it's like, and then this one too is I wanted to bring up like the autonomous vehicle accessibility background that I have, and through that experience, developed a concept, a spinoff of the existing app that we had, which was to just basically it was for O&M instructors, and then people who were blind or visually impaired navigating. So we had one of the technologies was these like 3D fences, 3D virtual fences, and we can make them as
Oh,
small as like you know a GPS point. And then so the idea was like we would have breadcrumbs with directional guidance at the breadcrumb specific for routes. And so an O&M instructor could essentially give someone a route remotely and it would upload to their app. The person would know how to do it and they would get that the same type of instruction that an O&M instructor would give, but they would also be guided via GPS to those breadcrumbs.
wow, okay. And it's using the tech that autonomous vehicles use, like where they scan the environment.
No, this tech already exists. It's super old, like, and it's super easy, cheap to do. Like, all we need is like a mobile app with a UI and how to, the how to do that. I mean, so the company that I used to be a part of is called Foresight Augmented Reality. And so there's like one guy doing all the tech, and it would blow my mind all the time. I'd be like, hey, you need to fix this in the app. And he'd be like, okay, give me 5 minutes. And he would go and do it. And it was just like, whoa, you already fixed that? He's like, yeah. And then like so like throwing up those virtual fences and then basically putting a label on it so the thing gets announced as you walk into that fence. It's like really not
Oh,
that complex.
Okay, I don't know if this is the same system, but when I was last at Disneyland pre-COVID, okay, they had a little device you could carry around, and it would announce when you were near certain rides or what areas
Yes,
you were in.
that's right.
So
Same kind of
maybe that is
technology.
that kind of thing.
Yep, same kind of tech. Yep. But I think
Because
for
yeah,
O&M
part of it,
instructors and like O&M like learners, such a cool tool. I mean, I would use that tool, right? Like if yeah. So anyway.
and I love you bring up too, like just the points of access for information, or like I had a really cool moment when I was at a theme park with blind people, and beforehand we went and made a tactile map of the park, and we noted all the bathrooms. And when we walked through, someone said, it's like, "Oh, I need to go to the bathroom," and someone said, "Well, there is a bathroom right by the entrance. It's on the left side."
Mm,
And we were able to then go find the bathroom there. And like this person didn't know the exact location of the bathroom, right? But they were able to like take leadership role in that situation, right? Like they're blind, most people would maybe think like, oh, like they might need to be guided to the bathroom or so. But like instead, they were able to narrow down all the places that we could have gone. We could have gone straight, left, right, or behind us. They knew it was on the left. And then other people were able to look around for a sign. And then once we kind of got even closer and closer, we all could communally walk and find that bathroom working together. It wasn't like all the responsibilities on the sighted people, or all the responsibility is on one person to know an exact route there. They were able to be part of the conversation as we're all trying to navigate there, and like
hmm.
making more opportunities for blind and sighted people to be able to work together and on problems to solve. I just thought that was cool, and they did that just from knowing there was a bathroom from the tactile map.
Yes. Yeah. That the mental map was more
Right,
solidified in their synapses because they touched it and then they had like the spatial awareness within the moment, guided by
right.
direction to get there. Yeah. Yeah. I feel
So
you what you're putting down. I know
thank you.
it's like such
That's
cool
fun.
stuff.
Thank you. Right. Yeah. So I think, yeah, to recap on that, so like any connections you have to the companies you're working with, if they need 3D models, send them to us. Or if they're wanting to start 3D printing programs, like send them to us. It's great. Or especially like parks or like, yeah, like if there's theme parks or national parks or like museums, like larger institutions that could have a model or something right at the same spot of the thing that people are looking at, as well as things that people might want to digitize to put online as well. Um, and we do a lot of collaborating with other groups. I think another fun story here was a rock wall. The rocks
Mm,
change, right? They want to be
mm,
able to plan the route for the rock wall.
right.
What we did was a different company came and scanned the rock wall with no holes, just plain rock. We had our designers clean it up, and then the gym adds bump dots on the model
Mm,
for when the routes change, because it's a dynamic thing, and they need something very easy, right? Instead of trying to 3D print little rocks, they just put bump dots, and they do different
Yeah.
types of dots for different routes. But that was a collaboration we did with the gym, a 3D scanner local company, and us and our designers. So sometimes we can
that
be like part of a wider project team too.
that is so cool. We've got I think a video on our YouTube channel of me going up a rock wall on a cruise liner, and it is so like it's basically like I'm just reaching, I'm guessing, I'm just gonna continue to guess every
But
single.
if you have a
Right.
model, then yeah.
Good idea. And I've also seen it at Texas School for the Blind, they had tape that would go from each rock.
Hmm.
Now, again, it's like telling you where you're supposed to go. Maybe you want to make your own choice, but I did think that was a pretty cool idea. Like a
Hmm.
little breadcrumb trail between the rocks.
Yeah, it's kind of guided you in at least in the direction, It's like,
Right.
and they could make it harder, right? They could put it like on the side as if it were like a handrailish kind of guidance, but
Yeah. It was like a constellation where it's like the holes are the stars and the lines were the tape. That's maybe the best way to describe it.
mm, mm,
I go
yeah.
climbing every week, so that's interesting to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, have you been? Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about like how people who can't see would be able to do it. And I guess that's one answer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, it's I mean it's so much fun to climb the now do you do it with the you do it with the harness and stuff, but is it like
Yeah,
the
audibly.
person supported or is it like the automatic one?
I've just been doing it with automatic because I'm a bit silly with climbing. So I don't want to
Oh,
have
okay.
someone like be at the bottom and like have to get ready for me to do
Oh,
some
yeah, yeah,
ridiculous
yes.
spin while I'm falling or something like that.
You've
Um,
seen that though,
yeah.
right? The person assisted ones.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I
My
think the
friends do
automatic
that.
ones are scary because there's like that first second where it's like it hasn't quite caught
Yeah.
yet, and I'm like free falling. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So are you competing in that, or are you doing it outside, or tell me?
Oh, it's just recreational, like going to a gym like Caroline was talking about. And I meet friends there. And it's a really good social thing because you'll do a climb and then you'll be kind of exhausted at the end of it. So you kind of have to rest and then, that's an opportunity to chat with people. And even when you're doing a climb, the people, your friends will be like watching at the bottom and they can throw out hints like there's also a hold around this edge. Or like try putting your
Oh,
foot like where your knee is and stuff like that. So it's a very fun communal thing.
that's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up. You're saying I gotta go climb.
Yeah. Next time we meet up, let's do it, Tanner.
Dude, I would love to do that. I would love to do that. Hmm. I'm curious, Caroline, where is like your favorite place that you've traveled internationally?
Oh, okay. Well, okay, like most recently I went to Amsterdam for tactile reading.
Ah,
So that was cool. I had, it really and it looked like the storybook thing you think about with the canals and all that. Like that was cool. I'm hoping to go to Japan this February. And so I'm excited for that. I'm not, you know, and another place I've really liked is Monet's Gardens
right.
because it's really pretty. All the flowers, and it looks just like what he painted. And being able to go to the bridge now,
Hmm.
it's like a reconstructed bridge, but right,
Mm.
it looks just like his lily pads and all that. Um, I remember I went there when I was 11 or 12. I remember being like, this is the most prettiest place ever when I was that age. And then,
Where in Japan?
well, so Japan, would be going to Tokyo and
Mm.
seeing there's a lot of 3D printing for the blind community members out there.
Really?
Yes,
Ah.
that's a lot of like researchers and stuff. Like, so there's blind people there who 3D print. There's I'm curious about with their O&M stuff. I know they have a lot of tactile markings on the ground. There's like braille on the toilets, I've heard. I'm like, I gotta see this. Like, I need to know if it's true.
Yeah.
So I'm just
I've
curious.
been
I've
wanting
never
to go
been
to
to Asia, so
Japan.
I'd like to see that. What'd you say?
I've been wanting to go to Japan for so long, and I'm afraid to go because I heard it's like both so accessible and inexpensive, and it's like you'll never leave. Like people are
Right.
so nice. Like, uh,
Well,
You're
you
like,
could come out in February. Like if there's some I'm planning on going with like people in the blindness community to go because I think like I was gonna go with family members, but I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna go to blindness trip, I gotta go with like people who really appreciate and like really care about like want to look at blindness things. Like it's not your average trip. So
mhm.
you can meet us out there for a bit, right? Like there and one of my friends from elementary school lives in Japan. So
Wow,
I'm gonna go visit her.
fascinating. I've never been to Asia either. Vietnam's on like my list, Thailand's on my list,
Mm-hmm.
and Japan is at the top along with the Philippines, Rada. But yeah,
I also really want to
Yay!
see Australia, New Zealand, because again, like in Australia, at the
right.
uh, Monash University in Melbourne, they have a whole research team of accessible 3D printing and tactile graphics crew
Incredible.
doing all. I'm like, we all got to hang out. But I love seeing these colleges, these research teams researching what we're doing because I feel like it's so niche. So when I see people getting their PhD in like 3D printing for the blind, it gets me so excited.
Wow.
I didn't know,
That
right?
is,
Who knew that
yeah.
was a thing?
I mean, blown away. And
Right.
that's an oceanic university.
Oh, yes, it's in Melbourne.
Hmm. Cool. Wow.
And then
That is so
I was
cool.
just at University of Washington. They're doing a lot using the dot pad and the Monarch and developing software to feel 3D models that you're designing
Mm,
to really open
mm.
that up and making like I'm like, let's go, right? Like like let's get like viewing 3D models on a graphics display, right? Like it's
Insane.
real. This is like it's so cool to see that.
Have you seen any of the I'm sure you did, or familiar with the one touch, the
Yes,
tactile
yes.
sports thing. Oh my God, so cool. Are
Right.
you a sports fan at all?
I mean, it's like I'm not like crazy, crazy, but I have grown up with sports. It's very big in my family, especially, I mean, if you go to the Ohio State, you got to be into
You
Ohio
gotta be
State football, right?
football.
So,
Yeah,
I've had my fair share of OSU, Michigan things. I played golf for all of school, and
nice.
then so yeah, I'd love to see like it was like really exciting to see that, and also like how simple the interface is. I didn't realize like one core it's just a bunch of vibrating sensors like on a
Mhm.
pad. Now the hard part is like
Hmm.
telling the
The
camera
sync.
to figure out where everything vibrates. But and I also think it's interesting how the device it fits for like two hand sizes, right? Because you need to kind of know what's going on. If the device was like the size of a table or like a TV or something really big, you might miss stuff that's in the corner that
Hmm.
you're not touching at. I
Totally.
like it's handheld, and I know a lot of people are seeing it at court, so I'm hoping we can get some like I've never actually experienced it at a game. I've only experienced it in like an exhibit hall scenario.
Well, I think haptics, I mean, tactics or tactical stuff is cool. And I think haptics are really interesting in terms of like how do we minimize like the brain processing time in order to execute actions based on a stimulus,
Mm,
and so it's like, hey, if I hear language, like my brain has to like process that at different channels, and can we use haptics to communicate information, especially within like indoor environments?
mm.
Could we perhaps use like ultra wideband beacon, like three ultra wideband beacons, if you're familiar with ultra widebands, like time and
I don't know.
distance and direction. And then when you add like three within a given space, then you can do better triangulation. So if I walk into a room, I could be like haptically made aware of like, you know, the stuff maybe right in front of me, right to the side of me, where the door might be. Um, and the haptic is it's like almost like the heptapods and Arrival. It's like when they
I don't know this.
communicate in images, right? And so when have you seen the movie Arrival?
No, no.
So it's an alien movie, and they arrive and they're trying to communicate with them. So they go onto the ships and they're trying to communicate with them, and they communicate in images. And so they get these little images, these little like one word images or whatever.
Huh.
And then shit's really going down, and bam, they get the image. And it was like, holy shit, an image is worth 1,000 words, but even more so, right? Like how complex, how maybe even three-dimensional could that image be, and how might that change the context? And then so there within haptics, right? Like if I audibly have to listen to something, I can only get one word at a time, right?
Right.
Whereas if I could leverage a haptic device, like something around my wrist, like different sections of the device could be vibrating at different pulses or different ways, or not vibrating at all, to communicate immediate information about the room right in front of me. So I would know like, hey, the desk is there, the door's over there, and the hallway's behind me.
Right. And did you get to see at NFB like there was a group that had like vibrating using the meta glasses to see facial expressions, and then it would
No.
vibrate to show
Interesting.
you different. I don't know if they're sad, it vibrates this way. If they're smiling, it's
Oh.
some
Huh.
other vibration pattern. But that's a thing that exists. That those exhibitors.
Emotional facial recognition.
Yeah, because you wear the meta glasses, and then as you're looking at other people, your thing vibrates. Oh, very interesting.
That is pretty cool. A little scary, but pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm going to now be doing technology things at Perkins as well. So
Nice.
who knows? Maybe I'll see you at one of those. I will be at NFB for sure again next year for AQ's exhibit hall. Um, I guess I don't know what my conference list is yet for the year. However, like I'd love to always, I love talking on things like this. So welcome to more. And I have like, other friends as well. Like I don't know what your other, I have some friends who are blind architects. I have blind scientist friends. I have a
Oh.
friend who's a blind pilot. I mean, there's some
Oh wow.
really, really, yeah, I know. So he, yeah, he's an Ohio State PhD student and what he does have low vision. He uses like some things to see, like focus in on things, but most of it is people tell him what the gauges say, and he knows the information
Wow.
and then adjusts the plane. And I didn't realize this. He's like, Caroline, It's just very similar to what sighted pilots do in the clouds or like at night. And it's
Mm.
Oh
like
my
it's the
gosh.
information you need for flying is really in the altitude and the
It's all on the
gauges.
dials. Yeah.
It's all, yes, it's not really like looking out the plane. Now, maybe when you're, I guess, landing the plane, or things like that, but it's talking with, FAA and all that. It's, you don't like look out. It's not like driving a car, like, I mean, I don't know that much about flying. I'm not gonna tell you, but I realized, I was like, huh. And he really feels how the plane's tilted as he's like, he
Sure.
uses that to help him out. But I mean, when I met a blind pilot, I was like, okay, like this is crazy. Like, but really, really opened up to be like, yeah, I guess these things could be accessible.
Do you know John Ross Rizzo?
No, no.
He's a MD, PhD at NYU. He's got like a research facility in there and like leads a bunch of shit. And he's a big deal. And he's like so humble, so casual. And like I'm hearing about him and he's like, oh yeah, and he's blind. I'm like, no way he's fucking blind. Like MD, PhD, NYU research
Wow.
guy like yeah, and he's just so cool. And I thought like you were talking like that, and I was like, oh, I bet you she knows JR.
No, no. I mean, it sounds like I might need to do some Googling, and then maybe I'll know for sure. Like, I'm also know someone who's a blind cartoon artist, and I got her
How does
master's
that
in.
work?
Oh, wow.
So she does a lot of like when she would draw people, she would use like those like artistic figures, those wooden people figures that you can like bend in any shape. So she
Yes,
used those for
yes.
drawing and has a really good like CCTV setup and like
Mm.
for zooming in to draw and all that. But then she also would make cartoons would have like live, like professionally recorded audio components. It wouldn't just be like reading the cartoon, it was like acted out with actors and like sound effects as a layer on top of the cartoon.
Is that on
Hmm.
YouTube or she
Yeah,
put it?
or on her site because like an audio recording, it's like on her website.
Oh, cool.
I might go find the put in the chat here. Particularly her Lily the Blind Unicorn book is so cute, and you can listen to the
Hmm.
whole recording of that. Here, this is her site. So, and oh yeah, and it shows the little wooden figurines that she uses to draw. So I just like I know blind, I have a friend who's a blind architect. He was a painter to start, like, really thinking about, and then he loves to talk about like color, right? And how that works. It's so very, very interesting, right? Like, I don't know,
So
it's
cool.
all, yeah, yeah, it's
Do,
like really
have you
interesting.
seen anything with the BrainPort? Do you know anything about that?
Okay, I mean, I've heard of it, but I've never like seen it like outside of like say a news headline.
A video. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's like for me, it's like more fascinating about like how like the neuroplasticity and remapping of like how could something, you know, how could something get the visual cortex to fire that has nothing related to the retina?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was okay. Yeah, yeah.
Have you seen the stuff on the functional MRIs? They've done functional MRIs and they can see their visual cortex firing when they're doing stuff.
No, no, I have not seen that yet.
Yeah, and I'm like, was that never made like more publicly available? Was it like an FDA approval thing? I don't know. But that was really frustrating to me. And because I learned about that in like probably 7 years into my blindness journey, and I'm like, no, I was so excited. I was always convinced. I did a lot of research when I first lost my sight and going back to school, and I was like, oh, I was convinced it was stem cells, stem cells, stem cells. I've been like less convinced of that as time goes on. I love what David Sinclair is doing, and I'm really excited about that. But the BrainPort was like, oh my gosh, it doesn't have to be like surgical. It doesn't have to be like anything that I
Right,
put in my body. I can organically create this.
right. Man, okay. Is this the brain part? Is it like the thing that it's like it vibrates on your tongue? Is it that part? I
Hmm.
was Googling this. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I've seen that. Yes. Okay. Oh, but that,
So for those who
huh.
don't know, so it's like there's glasses you wear, basically like meta glasses, and then there's a wire that goes to like a postage stamp sized metal device that supposedly feels like champagne bubbles on your tongue, and it puts the images in those champagne bubbles, like stimulates your tongue with the image. And within a day, people are like, able to recognize numbers or letters. And then like over the course of a week, they're able to like start recognizing people and doing things. And they have different promotional videos of like a totally blind guy as a carpenter, like using a table saw and doing things like, and it was just like, holy cow. The terrible thing is that you got something hanging out in your mouth, so you can't really talk
Yeah.
to it.
Uh,
That's such just like basically they look like
yeah.
Oh,
Well, just think in like 2 decades or something, like the iterations on that design and stuff, like, if that's how it is now.
well, there's like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with David Sinclair's stuff. So he's Harvard guy who's like battling aging, and he's been working on stuff since like 2017, 2018. His like one of his graduate assistants, research assistants convinced him, hey, we shouldn't focus on the liver. We should actually focus on the eyes. So they transferred their things to the eyes, and they've moved past mice and monkey studies. Now they've got their first human studies this year. And you know, and things are looking good. And I heard him talk about it recently, and it was really funny because reading between the lines, I can tell like it's way better than he can say. It's so good, in fact, that I feel like he's trying to figure out how to like signal like, oh, this is like the sports. So it's coming in, they have it like a pill version and a drink version. And it's like, oh,
What?
this is the blindness drink. This is the facial rejuvenation drink. This is the cardiac rejuvenation drink. I can tell that he's trying to figure out how it's like. So right now, when you do it, it's like all these things happen. And so they're trying to figure out how to segment out like, oh, hair growth happens when you do this one. So it was fascinating to hear him talk about it. And he's like right on the edge. He's like, I can't really talk about it. I can't really talk about it. I can just say that it's going really good. And and so I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited. So you say 20 years, I'm like, when I lost my sight in 2004, and I told Dr. Lynn Polanski, my neuro-ophthalmologist, I'm going to see by the time I'm 40. I'm going to see. I'm 43 today. And so if I'm off by 10 years, I'm okay with that.
That's one way to look at it.